Previously, on every episode of Dan Schneider Reviewed, Evan has reviewed the first 2 seasons of iCarly, and contrary to popular opinion, he finds both seasons rather meh in quality. Season 1 is average to below average, and Season 2 is overall better than Season 1, but still not up to snuff to his standards, especially compared to Drake and Josh. Is Season 3 going to be the first good season, the first bad season, or yet another step towards mediocrity? Stay tuned and find out on every episode of iCarly Season 3 Reviewed. Hey guys, Ev's back to entertain, and before we start this review, I just wanted to get just things off my head. This part's kind of unscripted. The rest of this, this review is scripted as usual for, the every episode series, but I just got a few things to say before. First of all, just recently I hit 100 subscribers, and that's not a whole ton, but it just feels nice to finally hit triple digits with this channel, because I've been doing YouTube, at least with this, so if I'm counting my old channel too, I've been doing YouTube for at least 8 years now, but with this channel right now, I've been doing this for at least almost 6 years now. So it's probably nice to get to this point. So yeah, I'm just really happy to have 100 subscribers. So that's cool. Hope we can get to 200 sometime soon. Anyway, so yeah, I'm really glad I have 100 subscribers. I'm glad people have stuck with me along the way. So here we are. Next thing I wanted to note was Sonic was I said in the previous video that after season 2 of iCarly I was going to do Sonic Forces video, and honestly, I'm not sure when exactly I'm going to do that. I've always had this plan of doing the boost Sonic games like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Color, Sonic Generations, and Sonic Forces. But I just haven't really had the time. I have scripts for them, but I'm not really confident in them. And plus, I'm not entirely sure if I want to do those without footage. I was going to make them kind of like this, where it's a picture format. But I'm not sure how comfortable I am doing that with video game reviews. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm not sure when Sonic Forces or Sonic Unleashed Colors Generations videos are gonna come out. But it should come out sometime this year. But it all depends on timing and whether I'm interested in doing it or not. And lastly, recently, I did a pilot to a web show I plan to do called Sick Comic Relief, and technically those all be a sort of pilot, not really a pilot, but kind of a prototype, if you will, of the show, already on this channel, it's called the test, but it's it's not that great, and before YouTube made this really stupid decision to get rid of the dislikes, that video had more dislikes than likes for whatever reason, so. Probably there's a reason, because the humor was really dry. But anyway, but yeah, I made an even better pilot for it, and yeah, the channel will be in the description. I know I said this I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in the direct, but I really want to promote it, because I'm in the process of making the first episode. It's gonna be one of them episodic series where it's 2 episodes, 2 episodes are 11 minutes, kind of like SpongeBob or Fairly Odd Parents or whatever. So. Yeah, I'm in the process. Production has been kind of halting on that because, honestly, I got I have the voice acting for the first episode, and the overall script done for the first episode, but I still need to draw all the panels. So, I still need to get the second episode done. So I'm not sure when that's gonna come out. I really wanted to come out before February, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I know it's not gonna happen, but hopefully the first 2 episodes can come out next month. But anyway, when you get a chance to subscribe to that channel, it would be really nice. And yeah, with that, let's get on with the show. Episode 47. I Think They Kiss. Sam spills the beans to Carly that she and Freddie have kissed. So yeah, this was around the time I started to watch the show consistently, so I remember all the promos and all that, but I digress. How's this episode? Well, the funny thing is with this episode is that, as it's intended to be, it's solid the way it is, but when you look at it from a different angle, I actually think it's so much better. What I mean is that this episode is really a sequel to iKiss back in Season 2, so it has that episode in mind. The writers assume that the audience know that Sam and Freddie kissed in that episode, which is fine. But one time I was watching this episode, and I actually think it's funnier and works even better as a standalone story. Had iKiss not been a thing, I think this would have been even better ambiguously. It would have been very interesting to see these two, going at each other all the time, and no one knows about this little secret but them until now. I know I'm rambling on a bit, but either way, it's a really good episode. Everyone's portrayed rather fairly, Sam's not too annoying despite this premise kind of being based on her. The plot is straightforward, and there's some pretty good comedy here. The part where Freddy pins down Carly is a nice little nod to when Carly pinned down Freddy and I Promise Not to Tell. The whole subplot with Spencer and these prisoners is also really funny, such as the one dude's weird fetish for stabbing, to the one guy always ready to kill Spencer with his bare hands. Also, the ending scene where Carly, Sam, and Freddy are trapped in duct tape is really funny too. There's one thing I don't like is that Carly is a little bit too overbearing in the second half. I understand she feels hurt that she was left out in something. I get that. But I mean, if I didn't know my two friends kiss, I wouldn't go on a psychotic rampage about it. I know, it's a kid's show. I let many things slide, but it's still kind of distracting. But anyway, it's still a good episode. Episode 48. iCook. The trio put some cook named Ricky Flame into crippling depression because they beat him in the cooking competition, basically. I'll just get to it. This episode is really good. The thing with this episode is that it's dramatic, but completely on purpose. What I mean is that the logic of Ricky Flame really never losing is so over the top, I love it. This man really has this entire career in cooking and really goes into such theatrics over losing to a web show, which is honestly so ironic it's funny. But even disregarding that, the actual humor is really great. With Ricky Flame wrestling kids at the end, don't look too deep into that. To Spencer's subplot, I'll admit that the show hasn't been the best when it comes to subplots, but Spencer's subplot is quite interesting. He has this whole thing where he saw a certain vision in the future where he was electrocuted and that had him chilling at the groovy smoothie for the entire time, really. And it's wacky, but I like it. It's a change of pace. I really don't have much to say about this episode. It's just overall solid and there's nothing really wrong with it that I've noticed. It's straightforward, funny, has a good story. What more can you ask for? Episode 49, iSpeed Date. This is dance called Girl's Choice at their school, and Carly, Sam, and even Freddy to an extent have trouble getting a date to it. Really is 2, maybe 3 different subplots that are along the same trend, really. Carly has to find a guy to take, hence the speed dating in the middle of it. Sam has to take Gibby, but he refuses, and Freddy has his plot where he goes with this weird chick named Magic Malika. It's hard to really describe the synopsis, but the good news is that this is another freaking good episode. In fact, it's another really great one. The episode is just really funny overall. I think it really works in its advantage. The whole speed dating scene has me dying in my last rewatch, I'll be honest. From this one dude literally just coming out to just make out with Carly, to Freddy literally loving this one dude similar to him, and he's not the generic hot guy. But either way, there are a lot of jokes that land. 2 guys not even having the chance to plead their case because Carly and Sam take up most of the time, to Spencer doing these hip swivels. Like, man, there's a lot of jokes that land. In fact, I love this whole subplot with Spencer where he works out in 10 seconds, and it's outright hilarious how pathetic he is with it. I really don't have much to say about this episode. It's just a joy to watch. Episode 50, iCarly Awards. The iCarly gang have this thing called the iCarly Awards, in which they give a trophy to people with weird talents. This episode, despite the whole idea, is kind of basic with its execution, really. All it is just the iCarly gang having an award show, and it's kind of repetitive in the way it's told. That said, I still find it a pretty good episode. The comedy works as Spencer has these supermodels who help him make trophies, and some of the jokes with the awards land, like Carly and Sam interrupting everyone. Plus, there's a nice callback to the first episode where they show weird talents, and that's how it kickstarted everything. Really, I was at first kind of about this episode, but the more I watch it, I enjoy it. Episode 51, I Have My Principles. After appearing on iCarly, Principal Franklin gets fired, and now Mr. Howard and Mrs. Briggs are the new principals of Ridgeway High, or Junior High. Okay, a little tangent. But is it the high or what? Because I thought they were 13 or something in season 1, but they still went to the same school in this season, and whatever. Anyway, I love this episode. Yep, it's another good one. The comedy, I've just said it a million times at this point, is really good. The funny thing with this episode is that it's more of sketch comedy humor, in which is rather random in many ways, which is not bad at all. In fact, it works in this episode's favor. From things like Principal Franklin sitting on fudge balls of all things, to the zaniness of the iCarly web show to begin with, even things like Gibby literally getting detention for being too Gibby, even stuff like Tebow literally putting donuts on a stick, but not through the hole, but through the sides of them. Like, that seriously is just something I would see from Raj from Hell's Kitchen or something. But anyway, this sounds deeper than it is, but I do like the ambiguity of the ending. Not that it's anything complicated or anything, but I like how it's a bit unclear if the plan was a setup, or even Principal Franklin knew about it, or if he was legitimately angry with it. It's hard to explain without watching, but that's something I recommend because this episode is really solid. Episode 52, I Find Lewbert's Lost Love. Carly, Sam, and Freddy find one of Lewbert's old girlfriends, and they figure that once they get back to... Carly, Sam, and Freddy find one of Lewbert's old girlfriends, and they figure that once they get back together, Lewbert would be happier. Okay, so I gotta mention that this episode probably has my favorite subplot due to how incredibly corny it is. You see, Spencer and his little dude Chuck are now elevator watch patrol because there's this outbreak of people losing their TV remotes, but turns out Chuck had them You see, Spencer and his rival Chuck are now elevator watch patrol because there's this outbreak of people losing their TV remotes. But turns out Chuck was stealing them the whole time. It's nothing too complicated, but the little gags like this one, and this one dude like having a bunch of fig Newtons, and this one lady who seems a bit neurotic. I don't know. I just like the subplot. How's the rest of this episode? Thankfully, it's also pretty solid. Not saying that Lewbert is particularly my favorite side character, but I do find it a little neat that we have an episode about him once, just like in I Heart Lewbert. Unlike that episode, which had some funny moments but was overall cringy throughout, this episode is really funny throughout. Probably my favorite joke the whole episode is Martha thinking Carly is hitting on Lewbert himself when she's only 15. Let to know the production has some sort of boundaries, at least early in the show. Never mind. I mean, really, the episode doesn't have anything wrong with it, but I guess this episode does tether a bit on the standard side of good, like Drake and Josh season 3 good episodes, which, they're good, but they're rather standard. By the way, a little bit off topic, but I really want to re-review some of the episodes of Drake and Josh Season 3. I don't know, I feel like it wasn't really fair to some of them, like the Demonator and the Alien Invasion. I still think they're meh and bad episodes respectively, but only because the Demonator has a rather stale plot, and Alien Invasion is not the quote-unquote Megan on top fodder as I thought it was, but I guess I feel like the plot is kind of dumb. The ending is also really stupid. Anyway, yeah, this episode isn't amazing or anything, but it's a pretty good one. Episode 53, I Move Out. Freddy is tired of his mom, so am I, of always treating him like a child and making him irritated. So he moves out and lives in this attic-like room of the apartment building. God, this episode annoys me. Mrs. Benson has her moments of being funny, like in I Go to Japan, but overall she's rather meh as a side character. However, her overprotective antics here are just over the top and just irritating to watch. I'm sorry, but that opening bit where Freddy has to eat asparagus, where not just Sam, but even Carly antagonizes him, it's just not funny. It just makes me feel bad for Freddy. Yes, they have to set up that she's annoying, but good God, you don't have to annoy the audience too. In fact, I'm going to coin a term right here, right now. I like to call it proper audience emotional translation, or PAET. I sound like an idiot, but basically, you should know how to evenly balance how the audience should feel about a character and how the character within feels. If a character is annoying, the character should be more annoying with the characters within the show rather than the audience. For example, yes, Squidward and others can be annoyed with SpongeBob and Patrick, I get that. But no, in season 6 through 9A, I don't need to rip my hair out from the constant giggling either. But I digress. This is why I can't stand the sadistic humor that often is with Megan from Drake and Josh. Seeing the wrong come out on top is already irritating for Drake and Josh themselves. It makes me irritated too. God. Anyway, back to this episode. There's these two guys who are the villains of the episode named Stuart and Ollie, and really they're alright, but they seem incredibly basic to me. It's amusing they care so much for their cat Harmu, but I don't know, they don't really interest me that much. There's this implication that they're maybe gay with how quirky they are, and if that's the case, that's fine and cool, but still I don't really care for these guys that much. I don't even think they got proper comeuppance toward the end, really. There are a few funny jokes, like Spencer putting the weird ear vacuum tubes through his nose, and that reference to Pee on Carl from I Want More Viewers, but my God, this episode just sucks. Originally, I was going to be nice and give it a meh rating, but after actually writing the script, I'm going to give it a 5, 4, 3, 2 bad rating. Episode 54, iQuit, iCarly. Carly and Sam have a falling out. Really, I should stop there because honestly, this episode is an expansion of I Don't Want to Fight. Not really the biggest fan of the episode's idea being recycled, but thankfully, in the end, I think it's good. The episode is not amazing or anything. The second half of it is a little bit too melodramatic. I understand why Carly and Sam feel the way they do about the situation. It even sucks that the two other guys they're helping out, Dave and Fleck, are having a falling out too, but it's just so drab. On the positive side, the episode is relatively funny. I do like the climax of the episode where they're on some gray scaffold and Carly's about to fall to her doom. From the hammer almost decapitating Carly and I Want to Stay with Spencer to this, man, she has had a lot of near-death experiences. The subplot of Spencer and Gibby's really funny and wacky, which I do like. In terms of specials, I think this is actually probably on the same level as I Go to Japan, maybe a tad worse, which they're both good but not amazing or anything. Episode 55, I Saved Your Life. Carly starts to be interested in Freddy after he saves her life. God, do I love this episode. Yeah, I'll get to it. This is a good episode. What makes this episode work is that it checks all the boxes for me when it comes to not just an iCarly episode, but a kid's sitcom episode. It has a storyline straightforward, a subplot that doesn't really relate to the main story that much, but it's pretty funny. And overall, it's just really fun to watch. Let me break down the elements here. So firstly, there's a subplot. If I see a subplot one more time, I swear to God. Where Sam and Spencer are against each other in this paintball game. While it's nothing really amazing or anything, I'll be honest, it's amusing to see how they both try to get each other. The ending where the mailman has a little lollipop is funny. What sells the episode, obviously, is the main story, though. Fun fact, with this episode, I think it was the first iCarly episode I distinctly was very hyped for. In fact, when I was younger, I literally had a calendar. I marked that Monday as the day that episode came out. Since I was younger, I was a huge shipper of Freddy, and needless to say, I was excited for it. While obviously it's nice seeing Carly and Freddy be all mushy with each other when I was younger, as I get older, I appreciate the moral that they're trying to teach here. Don't know exactly how to word it, but basically, it's shown that Carly was really only consumed by Freddy's quote-unquote bravery, and that's what made her into him. However, Freddy knew deep down that it was rather shallow and not actual love, but even Carly doesn't realize it. Yes, it did take Sam to get through to him, but Freddy knew what was up, and that's what I love about this episode. I know I'm not the first one to claim this, but this is exactly what was wrong with ID the Bad Boy. Carly's shallow then, but that's treated for laughs. Really, I'll probably talk more about the episode in a separate video, but I just like this episode. Putting my shipping biases aside, I just think it's a solid episode on its own.